Hi everyone, this is Raina, and this video is if you have your sun in Taurus and your moon in Leo. I've already done the opposite of those two positions with the signs, and there will be some similarities, but they will be a bit different because you have to look at the sun as the leader in a lot of ways. This is the masculine energy, and this is the dominant energy as it pertains to, for instance, like goals and your outer behavior, your expression. So people really do tune into that type of persona that you convey, if you will. And when Taurus is in that sun position, it's a lot different because Taurus is a feminine sign and the sun is masculine. So it's kind of like, quite different energies that are mingling. Whereas if the sun is in Leo and it's, the sun rules Leo. So that is really like a very, very extroverted type of energy. Now, definitely when your moon is in Leo, it will make you more animated as a Taurian. So don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that you're going to be very quiet. You might be very boisterous and you might have quite a dramatic emotional self expression. But I'm talking about like your goals and things like that. Now, Taurus and Leo form what is called a square, and that is a challenging angle. And you would have to look at your own personal chart to see if the sun and moon actually do form a square, because they have to be probably like 10 degrees apart max for them to be a square. So that would create more frustration between your goals and what your heart desires. And sometimes this happens when people are trying to do certain things in the world, like their ambition, but they feel like kind of blocked by their creativity in accomplishing these things, so they may do things that are more quote unquote practical to satisfy their goals, especially when the sun is in Taurus. But because the moon is in Leo and because Leo is so creative, that can create a bit of friction and make you feel like you're not in alignment with what it is and make it harder for you to kind of go after something because you kind of feel that it maybe even it's like it comes it feels like being thwarted a lot of times, like you can't do what you want. And really it's not necessarily the outside world that's doing this, but it's within yourself. Like you might have a conflict or this impasse within yourself that you can actually transcend, but you have to have knowledge of it first, because it might be tempting to think that the outer world is causing it when it's like kind of an internal type of a friction. And you know that brings me to exactly what I'm trying to say here about the idea of going after your dreams, which I would associate with the fire energy, and also being independent, being very confident within yourself, and going along with what is safe. And I think of Taurus as a cautious sign. It's the first earth sign, so it's going to be very it's going to see the world with very fresh eyes. And there's a kind of a delightful quality in that, because there's not that artifice, there's not that sense of like a Taurus person is very conniving in a very scorpionic type of way, unless the person has Scorpio rising, which they could absolutely have. then they might be a little bit more Machiavellian. But in general, the Taurus person is refreshingly simple in all of their, aspects of life, what they like, how they express themselves. All of those things can be very straightforward, and yet when you have those squares that can sometimes feel like there's that tension, I guess is a good way of putting it too, that inner tension, because you don't feel like you can just like have a free flowing ability to do what you want to do. And the moon is a very important aspect of life. So with the moon in Leo, there's a very creative push or feeling within the person. And they really should exercise that in one way or the other. Taurus wants constancy, and so does Leo, because Leo's fixed too. But Taurus is an earth sign, so it's very much about, what they can see, what they can hold in their hands. If something is a dream, a goal, like a lofty goal, something that hasn't manifested yet, it can feel like Taurus, like it's a pipe dream. And so Taurus may go with the path of least resistance if it will yield more immediate results. And speaking of immediate, because it's right by your sign is right by Aries, there's every possibility that you have inner planets in Aries. And even though Aries is harmonious with Leo, it can lead to impatience, and it can make it harder to like wait for a goal to to wait for things to manifest, because you want things now. So it can, even though Taurus is known for being patient, if you have inner planets like Mars in Aries, it can make you can be like less of that typical Taurus type of person, and you can be more impulsive too. And even in love, if you have Venus in Aries or Venus in Gemini, you may have trouble sticking with a certain person because you feel like it's not, when you don't see it materializing the way that you had hoped, you think, oh, this isn't going to work. And you could throw away a perfectly good relationship, or the budding of a relationship, I should say, because I'm not talking about when it's already gotten there. I'm talking about ahead of that. So really, the Taurus person has to accommodate this fire energy, because fire and earth are like really, I was going to say yuck, I mean, they're so different. That's why I say, if you have inner planets in Aries that or Gemini that accompany that moon in Leo, you're going to be an atypical Taurus person. You're going to be more outspoken, livelier. Taurus tends to be very conservative and traditional, and not necessarily flamboyant, or that kind of thing. But if you're more of that fire and air influence, then you will be like that. And you will also be attracted to people like that. And that can be a little bit problematic too, because at the end of the day, you're still a Taurus person. And if you attract a fire person or an air sign person, you better not be possessive, because they're not going to play that. They are very freedom loving. So you're going to have to check yourself, because you will wreck yourself. You'll wreck the relationship at any rate if you do something like that. And definitely Taurus is known for being possessive. And that's something that, regardless of who you're dealing with, you better get that clear in your mind, because you could easily have a very jealous streak, even with the moon in Leo, because Leo wants with the moon in Leo is to be number one in somebody's life. Yeah, that's kind of like an Aries thing, but Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun is the center of our existence in this world. If we don't have the sun, we're toast. So that's how the Leo person feels when they are in those emotional situations. There's always like the shadow. This is the shadow expression of Leo. So there can be more histrionics, more attention getting tendencies with this moon position. Of course, because the sun is in Taurus, this may moderate what I'm saying a bit, because Taurus tends to be very steady and it's earthy, and it can absorb some of that fire. But like you can throw, what is it? You can throw sand on or dirt on fire to put it out. So that might work compared to other sun sign combinations with the moon and Leo. Maybe having the Taurus sun will make you less prone to those things. But I still think that the jealousy angle could really come into play. And if you're able to get clear, to understand the root cause of jealousy, you can eradicate it. You can, these astrological configurations are not set in stone. They're just like the template, the cosmic blueprint when you came into this world, but that doesn't mean it has to be like that. So don't get this idea that it is something that you're doomed to express for the rest of your life. It's just showing you where things come easy to you and where your challenges are. This is a great combination for creativity, especially if you're like a crafty type of a person. If you have Mars in, or maybe even Mercury, but especially Mars in Gemini, you could have great fine motor skills. So you might be good at things that involve intricate, where you have to be good with your hands. Like, I was going to even say like woodwork, in as far as maybe even being a carpenter, but even something more like sewing or whatever, and you're able to, or jewelry making. This can be something that's very gratifying for you on an emotional level, but there's always that ham with the Leo, and in the moon position, it's like, look at me, look, ma, no hands, look at me. I'm, wanting that because maybe you didn't get that growing up, or maybe you had a mother who was a narcissist who sucked all the oxygen out of the room, and you couldn't get like, a word in edgewise. And even those same people that are narcissists, those same mothers, they can even be stage mothers trying to get their child in these, I don't know, beauty pageants or the theater or whatever, commercials, whatever it is. And but sometimes that's because of their narcissism that they're doing that to you. But it can have a healthy aspect to it if you are balanced, if you like look at yourself and say, you know what, this is something I want to do, but I'm not doing this because I didn't get enough attention when I was growing up. That's not the right reason to do it. I'm doing it because I enjoy sharing my gifts, my creative gifts. So that can be the open mic night, the community theater. I'm talking about if you don't want to do it for a living, then you can do it in other venues. You don't have to, I think that's one of the dangers of Taurus sun sign is they might think, if I'm going to do this, I have to make money from it. No, you don't. Or I have to make, a lot of money. You could just do it, and maybe they pass around the hat at the end of the night and you get, $20 or something. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. So just doing something for the sake of doing it too. The fifth house that Leo rules also rules hobbies, besides creativity. So that can be a creative hobby, it's possible. And, but I think, I think also because Taurus being an earth sign, that you might always be thinking of everything I do has to have a price tag attached to it, or I have to make money from it. And that's something that you should strike from your belief system. However, there's no reason that you can't make it either. And singing might be a big one because Taurus rules the throat, and Taurus people tend to have a nice voice. Um, and that might be the the venue or the avenue that you are expressing your gifts. So, I'm trying to think of other types of professions. You might just do something with art and become an art teacher, especially with young children, because Leo has an affinity with children. Leo ruling that fifth house. The fifth house is also about children. Um, so, art teacher, or even like a kindergarten teacher where you do or preschool, early childhood, where it's very art centered, as it often is. I I majored in early childhood education at one point, so I have a lot of background in that area. And speaking of that, you would be probably a very good parent if you can avoid being that, that stage mom, even though that's your moon position. That can be the way that you deal with your own children. And, oh, and by the way, that's an important point of like, what kind of anger management issues do you have? Well, we look at the moon, but we also look at Mars. So you do want to look at Mars to see. Strangely enough, if Mars is in Aries and it forms a trine with the moon, even if they're both in fire signs, you might have an even temper. You might be very positive in how you express yourself. If your moon, if I'm sorry, if your Mars is in Taurus, oh my God. Or I don't know, I don't think you could have Mars in Scorpio because it's too far away. I'm not 100% on that. Yeah, I think the sun can oppose Mars. Of course it can. I think. Yeah, the sun. I think that, because it's like Mars is never too far from the sun, so you can't have it be too far, but it might. I do think that people have, yeah, they don't just have squares with Mars, they have opposition. So I guess it can. Maybe you can have Mars and Scorpio, but I'll tell you, if you have either Mars and Scorpio or Taurus, you have to really get that under control, because I think that it can make you very temperamental, okay, and especially probably especially in love, but maybe career wise, if you feel like somebody's trying to, you might be very competitive. That's more of the sun though, but I'm saying like, yeah, the moon can be opposing, yeah, the moon and I think it can, yeah, you don't want to be someone who is allowing your ego to just go whole hog, because Leo, like I said, the moon in Leo can be kind of the shadow self. So there can be a tendency to feel like you have to prove that you are as fabulous as you are, and you don't. You totally do not. No matter what happened to you growing up, if you were if you felt like you were invisible growing up and you didn't get enough attention, you know, tough. I was going to say tough titties. Trying not to say tough shit. I was going to say tough shitties. And it's really, the point is that needing attention is really a a demand of the ego, of the lower nature. When you are confident and when you are coming from a genuine place of wanting to add to life in a positive way, you don't need to call attention to yourself. You're going to have that gravitas when you enter a room because it's like a force field. But when you are insecure, when you are trying to have other people admire you, that is a weakness, that is coming from the lower nature, in my opinion, and that also will agitate other people because we all have egos and we all want to be seen and heard. And I know, like, as a Sagittarian sun sign, if I'm in a group situation and there's somebody who's dominating it with their energy and they're being very, like, taking charge of the group, I just, like, really recoil against that. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Some people are, they'll just follow the leader. And maybe you could say it's my ego that's getting triggered. It probably is on some level, but I just don't like that, when somebody tries to take over things. So don't do that. And you'll have, like, so much more personal power because Leo is a very powerful sign. I believe Leo is one of the most powerful signs, but it can be overpowering, and that's where it gets problematic. So get in touch with your true power. Don't be too rigid because this is a double fixed sign. So be willing to see other people's points of view, even if you disagree with them. Being willing to change from time to time. Do things like walk down a different street because you might be a creature of habit, and that might put you in a big rut. Wear different colors, like, you might have your pet colors that you like to wear, the type of styles you like to wear. Experiment a little bit, the foods you like to eat. Don't, and especially with Taurus, I know of what I speak, that some Taurus people, they can be so stubborn that they eat only like a few things. And it's almost like a phobia of trying new things because they just love that continuity. But, do things that are a little bit different so that you don't get in those ruts. And you will be this force of nature. In love, that's a big one. Do not allow your lust to reign supreme because you will attract one-dimensional relationships, and they can be quite degrading. It's not that puritanical idea of sex is immoral or disgusting. It's that it is disgusting when it's one-dimensional because it can easily turn into something where the people are using one another and they really don't have respect for one another, and that will tend to be relationships that are not healthy. So make sure that you're falling in love with somebody for the right reasons, that you're associating with them for the right reasons, and that your relationship really is multidimensional. And what else could I say about this combination? Just be, I think it lends itself to being very affectionate, and that you can be a very generous person. Just don't allow yourself to be bamboozled by people who are taking advantage of that generous nature. Don't throw your pearls before swine. Okay, that's what I have for you. It seems like a weird way to end this, but it is what it is. If you would like a personal reading, please click on the link below. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Bye.